here, and you're you, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Ironsworn, I almost said Ironforge, Ironsworn Starforge, the run and gun playtest kit that Shawn Tomkin tweeted out about just a little bit ago. There was an update since the first tweet, so if you, well, I guess if you go to it, it's the Google Doc, so you're going to get the correct one if you go to it. So if you went to it originally, you should go to it again, which I actually had to do. I had to download it. I downloaded it twice because I got it when it first got tweeted out, and then it got updated. So I'm playing the second one that got tweeted out. So there were a few little tweaks. But what I'm going to do is we're going to take a quick look and let's just dive in and take a look and see what's up with this kit. Ironsworn Starforge is an in-development supplement for the Ironsworn tabletop role-playing game. This playtest is intended to test alternative combat mechanics. Development is very early and everything is highly subject to change. The run and gun playtest introduces some modifications to Ironsworn combat mechanics, along with combat talent assets for firearms. I've been exploring two different directions for Starforge combat, so these mechanics differ greatly from the Pew Pew playtest kit. The goals for this design include support more movement and dynamic activities in a fight scene, encourage objectives and progress in a fight which don't involve direct violence, integrate the player choices from secure an advantage and face danger directly into combat mechanics, improve the context for initiative, which is now in control or in a bad spot, and mechanize the narrative flow from soft outcomes in a bad spot to hard outcomes, pay the price. This package only contains elements needed to play a quick combat scenario, and stay tuned for additional assets and new scenarios. For this initial kit, actually secondary kit, there are minimal instructions. Part of the purpose of this playtest is to identify which moves and mechanics need detail and clarification. If you'd prefer to wait for more robust playtest, including other aspects of play, please do. You can join the Discord for more feedback, or to, if you do this playtest, to let them know. I don't use Discord anymore, so this is my playtest report. You'll probably need some experience with Ironsworn to make sense of this, and to learn about that, you go to ironswornrpg.com. To use this playtest, you must first copy it to your, it's Google Docs, and so you copy it or download it. You can download it in PDF or PowerPoint or whatever you want, and go from there. So what's changed since the last from the Pew Pew test, from what we last saw? The objective focus fights. When you enter the fray, define your objective for the fight. The rank of the challenge is then based on the complexity or danger of that goal. You'll use the standard Ironsworn rank system for the fight's progress track: troublesome, dangerous, formidable, extreme, and epic. The foes, environment, and the nature of your goal can all have an impact on the rank. You might even use separate progress tracks to represent distinct phases, goals, or foes. As you mark progress, you advance towards achieving your objective. For a basic encounter, your objective might simply be to defeat your foes. Usually, you'll have a more nuanced objective or reason to be in the fight. You'll make the end of the fight move to see whether you achieve that objective. In control versus in a bad spot. In this version of the combat playtest, Starforge introduces a binary position for your character which replaces initiative. You are either in control or in a bad spot. As with initiative, this is mostly dictated by whether you score a strong hit or weak hit on a move. Unless a move says otherwise, a strong hit puts you in control. A weak hit puts you in a bad spot. The notable exception is gain ground, which lets you stay in control on a weak hit. Clash. This updated version of Clash combines the function of strike and clash into a single move. You can make this move whether you are in control or in a bad spot, but your position will affect the outcome. Gain ground. This new move is the combat-centric version of secure an advantage. In a fight, use this move instead of secure an advantage to build advantage against your foe or move towards your goal. Since the outcome of this move includes an option to mark progress, you can achieve your objective in a fight without relying solely, or possibly at all, on physical violence. React under fire. When you are in a bad spot and trying to get out of harm's way or overcome an obstacle, make this move. It replaces the use of face danger in a fight. It's less risky to react under fire than to clash when you are in a bad spot, but you lose the opportunity to mark progress. React under fire is not a literal term. Use this move whenever you're trying to overcome an obstacle or get out of harm's way. It's not just for avoiding incoming gunfire. Admit defeat. Now this is interesting. When you're ready to throw in the towel, make this move. It doesn't really say much about that. I'll look at the moves in a minute, but this is actually the opposite of end the fight. So instead of being stuck in a forever fight loop, trying to gain advantage in order to end the fight, if you're in a bad spot, or, essentially you don't have initiative, you're in a bad spot, you can end the fight. And so I'm curious whether that includes a kind of a tactical retreat like D&D does, where like if you do a strong hit, whether you can admit defeat and then make a tactical retreat without taking damage. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting to read that move. Harm and NPCs. In this playtest, harm is completely player-facing. You do not inflict harm on your foes. Instead, you mark progress, which is essentially the same thing, because it's a progress track, which is cool. I like that clarification, because having the two things is weird to me. It's the same thing. Depending on the situation and your approach, progress can represent inflicting physical damage on your foes, particularly with the clash move, but it is not the only way to achieve your objective. Harm is otherwise unchanged for your character, and you can still endure harm when you must pay the price. Now that's interesting. So in my mind right now, what I'm thinking of is, like, if you're computer hacking or whatever, you could be hacking it and making progress and then decide to smash the computer to cause harm to it. And that would all be on the same progress track. So that's really interesting. And then you would like try to end the fight or whatever. And then you would take in all of that progress. Like you had hacked it, and then you like hit it on the head. but you would still have all of that built up progress. Really interesting. Yeah, so you're still making progress even if you change strategies. That's kind of cool. Okay, mark extra progress. When you are told to mark extra progress, you should mark progress twice. For example, in a dangerous fight, you will mark 4 progress instead of 2 when you mark extra progress. If a combination of assets and moves gives you more than one mark extra progress result, it will stack. If an asset tells you to mark extra progress and you already have an option to mark extra progress as part of the move, that's 3 times the normal progress. Because you've marked progress, your asset has marked extra progress, and your move has done extra progress. So that's 3. Just think of this as working the same as inflict plus X harm in Ironsworn core. Now, if you have 2 assets that have mark extra progress, I'm assuming that it would still stack. Yeah, that's my assumption. I don't know if there's what that combination would look like, but that's what I'm assuming. So this is the playtest playmat with momentum, and you can and your character stats, and then your core health, spirit, and supply abilities. It's interesting that momentum doesn't have reset or max, which is part of the normal character sheet. And you place your combat talent there, which is one that you select from the ones the combat talents that are provided for shooting that are part of the playtest. Now, for me, I'm actually, let me show you. This is what I've got. Ignore this for a second. This you might recognize from my previous playthrough, because this is my progress track thing that I'm using. And then this weird little thing is my temporary character sheet. So that's how I'm actually going to do it. So I've got Edge 2, Heart 1, Iron 1, Shadow 2, Wits 3, and then this is my current momentum is 2, positive 2, my max is 10, and my reset is 2. And then I've got health, spirit, and supply of 5. And then my initiative is blank. But I'm using a fudge dice, so it could be I have initiative or I don't. So we'll see if I end up using that, because it's actually on this flow chart, which we'll get to see in a second. So our scenario 1, it's actually scenario 2, is Hunt on Lastchance. The location. Lastchance is an outpost on the lava-racked moon of Ember. From atop a massive ramshackle platform, the workers mine cooling lava fields for rare minerals. It's Mustafar! It's an ill-maintained site full of precarious metal gangways, flickering lighting, dangerous equipment, toxic gases, and ill-tempered miners. To make it worse, Ember is tidal locked, so it's always night on this side of the moon. It's only the thermal heat that makes it survivable without sunlight. This place is steam, fire, noise, darkness, and danger. Put simply, it's a hellhole. Why you're here. You're investigating an incident in an orbital station. Dozens died when a hacked security drone went berserk. The trail led you here. Nikos Vasser is an engineer who fled the station shortly before the incident and has been implicated in the attack. You need to find out who else is involved. The setup. Just when you're about to grab Vasser, he makes a break for it. He's also apparently hacked the outpost security drones, and they are covering his escape. The station is a maze of corridors and gangways over several levels. Vasser is headed for his ship on an exterior landing pad. The foes. The drones are ungainly machines with belt-fed ballistic weapons. As a pack, they are a formidable obstacle. Vasser is a troublesome target with a pistol. He's mostly focused on getting away. You'll need to end the fight with the drones before you can corner Vasser. The miners don't want to get involved. Getting started. Set your character's stats, pick one combat talent, and enter the fray. You carry whatever weapon is represented by your combat talent. There are also plenty of tools laying around to use as ad hoc weapons. And then so on this example, there's the two progress tracks. Formidable, defeat the security drones, and then troublesome is capture Nikos Vasser. And then there's there's the cool little tokens to mark progress. Those have got to be, somebody's got to make those. I'd love to see like a 6-sided die. You could do a 6-sided die with a blank side, and then 4 progress ticks, and then the 6th side I imagine would be what is it? I'm thinking it's the foe. It's the the foe tracking, the enemy tracker. I'm totally blanking on it, but you know what I mean. It's on the progress on the character sheet. It's the extra little tick that you track the progress made by some unseen enemy, a nemesis or whatever. Yeah, anyhow, so the 6th side of that die could be a thing to mark that your enemy is making progress. Okay, anyhow, that was my... Or else you 3D print little outlines of those and use those. That'd be kind of cool. And then there's a playtest log, so you can do your narrative, which I'm doing via this actual video. The combat talents are essentially the same 4, but they're rewritten because there's no cover, and so the really cool little map from the last one is missing, which I do kind of miss this, although I made such a hash out of it. But this was the positional thing with take cover, hidden, in a bad spot, at a distance, on the move, and in close. And so the previous ones were written to this thing. So we have Oolawd, who's the uplifted octopus Spec Ops agent, and they had the combat talent sharpshooter. You can select the card, and then you can paste it. It's actually a cool feature that I wasn't doing because I wasn't using it as a presentation. If you're not a dumbass like me and you're actually using PowerPoint or Keynote, you can actually use these. This would actually be, so we would do 2, 1, 1, and 2 and 3 would be my actual character. So you can actually use the full presentation to track your progress and everything. So you should definitely download it as the presentation, and then you can use Keynote or PowerPoint or whatever you like to manipulate, and you can actually track everything on the actual sheets itself. So let's now go back to this and we'll actually read the full thing. If you are in control, you may suffer -1 momentum to brace your weapon and take aim as you clash. If you do, add +1 and mark extra progress on a hit. When you face danger plus wits outside of combat to preemptively take out a troublesome or dangerous foe from a distance, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. When you secure an advantage plus wits by sizing up a distant situation, or gain ground plus wits by or taking careful aim, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. Should we take a look at the other ones? If you wield a sword, when you clash plus iron in close quarters, add +1. Once per fight, you may also re-roll any dice as you clash. If you do, mark extra progress on a strong hit. If you gain ground by moving into close quarters against your foe, choose your approach. Charge, roll plus heart or plus iron and mark extra progress on a strong hit. Evade, roll plus edge and take +1 momentum on a hit. When you swear an iron vow and bind the promise to your blade, add +1. On a hit, take +2 momentum or +2 spirit. Gunslinger, if you wield a pistol, when you enter the fray, plus heart by readying your weapon and facing off against your foe, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. When you're in control and clash, add +1. When you gain ground or react under fire, plus edge by moving into cover. Oh, it says moving into cover. I don't think that that's still true anymore. Add +1 and take +1 momentum on a strong hit. When you compel or gain ground plus iron with the threat of violence by holding someone at gunpoint, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. And then Gunner, we can see the full card because it's not overlaid. If you wield a heavy ranged weapon, when you are in control and clash by laying down covering fire or pinning down your foe, choose one before rolling. On a hit, mark extra progress. Add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. When you enter the fray, plus iron by unleashing hell, add +1. On a strong hit, also mark progress. Give your favorite heavy ranged weapon a name. Vera. When you endure stress in a fight while wielding it, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. All right, now that's interesting. You know, it's tempting to try and do like a different one instead of doing Oolawd again with the ranged weapon, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. So combat moves, we have enter the fray, gain ground, clash, react under fire, admit defeat in the fight. Enter the fray. When you wade into combat or are forced into a fight, envision your objective and give the conflict a rank. In the fight, if the fight includes discrete challenges, give each a rank. Then roll to determine who is in control. If you are, okay. So we have that in this one because we actually have two things that we're trying to do. We're trying to do defeat the security drones and capture Nikos Vasser. So I've got the two progress trackers. Gain ground is one of the new ones. When you are in control and take action to reinforce your position or move towards your objective, envision your approach. If you are in pursuit, fleeing, or maneuvering, roll edge. Charging bodily into action, coming to the aid of others, or commanding, roll plus heart. Seizing an objective with force, powering through, or making a threat, roll iron. Hiding, preparing an ambush, using a trick, roll plus shadow. Coordinating a plan, revealing a vulnerability, or cleverly creating an opportunity, roll plus wits. On a hit, you stay in control. On a strong hit, choose 2. On a weak hit, choose 1. You can mark progress, you can take momentum, or you can add +1 to your next move if it's not progress. On a miss, the foe takes control. The fight moves to a new location, or you encounter a danger and you are in a bad spot. So clash is the combined clash and strike. When you assault your foe or fight back in close quarters, roll plus iron. If you're fighting at a distance, roll plus edge. On a strong hit, you find an opening. You are in control, and you may mark progress. If you are already in control, mark extra progress. Oh, that's cool. Okay. On a weak hit, you may mark progress, but the fight turns against you. You are in a bad spot. If you were already in a bad spot, pay the price. Ah, interesting. On a miss, your foe dominates this exchange. You are in a bad spot and must pay the price. Interesting. I like that progression. That's kind of cool. React under fire is new. So when you're in a bad spot, take action and take action to avoid danger or overcome an obstacle. Envision your approach and roll. If you're in pursuit, fleeing, dodging, getting back into position, or taking cover, roll edge. Remaining stalwart against fear or temptation, or commanding under pressure, roll heart. Blocking or diverting with force or taking the hit, roll iron. Moving into hiding or creating a distraction, roll plus shadow. Changing the plan, finding a way out, cleverly bypassing an obstacle, roll plus wits. On a strong hit, you succeed and are in control, take +1 momentum. On a weak hit, your success is short-lived and comes at a troublesome cost. You suffer -1 to a single status track. Interesting. You stay in a bad spot. And on a miss, the situation worsens. You stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. Admit defeat is not a progress move. Interesting. When you are in a bad spot and abandon an objective, envision the consequence of this failure and pay the price. If the fight continues against other challenges, you remain in a bad spot. Okay. So yeah, there's not really a strategic defeat. I mean, like, so you don't actually really roll. You pay the price. You take the most likely negative outcome. So admitting defeat, there's really no really awesome way to come out of that ahead. You're not gonna come out with a win from admitting defeat. And then in the fight is a progress move. Now, one of the other new things about this is this combat flow, which I've printed out and I have on the table for myself. So you start by entering the fray, and then you're either in control or in a bad spot. And from there, you figure out from the flow, where you go from there. So we'll play that a lot. This is really the core of this particular playtest. I mean, compared to this, it feels daunting. I mean, it's pretty simple, really. But if I were coming at this, I would feel like it was too crunchy. It probably would have turned me off just at first blush, which is funny because it's probably easier. We'll find out, but it's probably easier to figure out how to move around it than it was this other one. But I'm way more attracted to that other one. Endure harm, endure stress, face death, face desolation. Those are suffer moves. Those are mostly the same, I think. Pay the price and ask the oracle are, I think, essentially the same. So the changes from there were updates to the gunner asset. There are tweaks to the wording of enter the fray and end the fight triggers. Updates to what's changed. The stress table, I guess, enduring stress table was misnumbered, and then the admit defeat move was added in the last update.